wanted to give a quick message before Tisha B'Av. I know that Baruch Hashem there are many shurim about Tisha B'Av. There's one message I feel wasn't necessarily mentioned, and I feel very strong about it. Let me tell you something. In Hilchot Tzedakah in Yeridea, it brings a hierarchy of who you're supposed to be giving your tzedakah to. And over there it mentions different people who are closer to you, then they become first on the line. Obviously your family or your neighbors. Aniyei ircha koidmim, your city comes first, and you should know over there it says Eretz Yisrael is considered your city. Very important halacha to know that that's also considered your city because Eretz Yisrael belongs to all of us, etc., etc. That's what it says. It gives a list over there. Also, then it brings a hierarchy of which type of poor people you're supposed to feed. If it has to do first with people who are sick, to give refuah, or if it has to do with giving clothes to people who are not dressed, or of course lahachil re'avim, someone who pasha doesn't have food on his table. Those are the aniim that you have to go ahead and feed, and there's a certain hierarchy. You'll never guess, ding, 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 what's number one on the board, right? What would be the number one on the list over there of where you're supposed to be putting your money? I just spoke to you feeding poor people and feeding them mamash bread on the table, not just buying them an extra couch. Number one on the board is what we call pidyon shvuyim, redeeming those who are captured. Believe it or not, redeeming shvuyim. Why? Because over there is everything. That's pikuach nefesh l'chol davar. That's the place where we know every one of Klal Yisrael is an olam maleh. We see each person with a tremendous individuality. He's considered a whole entire world. And here we have it, how so relevant that halacha is. Pidyon shvuyim. People who are right now sitting in the midst of Gehenna, who are mamish suffering, they're not able to see daylight for anything. They don't know if they're going to survive to the next day. They're living in absolute panic and pain. They're scared from day to day. They're living in complete danger, and they're surrounded by, I would call them animals, but I don't think they've reached that dargi yet, that level of being called an animal. Here, that's the situation that they are in right now. And yes, pidyon shvuyim. I'm not coming to give any type of tzedakah appeal that's not relevant right now. I don't think that's over, but I do want to mention that the whole world is turning topsy-turvy. The whole country is spending all the money that it doesn't have in order to be able to get those shvuyim out of that Gehenna, out of those tunnels. They're doing everything they can in their power to be able to do it. Obviously, it seems to be something important to be able to be able to do such a thing, right? An incredible phenomenon. And from here, the Bali Musar mentioned an important nakuda, which I think is relevant for us. If that's what we do for one person, in our case 120 people, if that's what we're willing to do, and we're willing to turn the whole world over, and everyone's screaming just because of a few people that are trapped, lo aleinu, but the whole world is uptight about it, the wars that we're surrounded by, the money that's being spent in order to be able to take care of this situation, then I think kal v'chomer, like I said, the Bali Musar mentioned this, how much we have to be screaming for the pidyon shvuyim of who? Of Klal Yisrael, of Bnei Yisrael. We need to be worried about the redemption of Klal Yisrael. This is what we're missing. Baruch Hashem in our davening 3 times a day, Bnei Yushalayim, Hashiva Shavteinu, Tekah B'Shofar, Et Tzemach David, Matzbiach Keren Yeshua. We're ask, but I have a question. And again, I'm bringing out from the Bali Musar that they just bring this rayon. Are we really asking? Are we paying lip service? Are we doing what needs to be done? Or are we just kind of saying the words, but we really don't think about it? How much are we really considering? Is Mashiach here? The Shechinta Begaluta, the situation of a Kodesh Baruch Hu being midgalgel be'offer, as we're going to describe in a minute, about how difficult the situation is that's around us. Whenever you go, and Baruch Hashem, we're Masada Kedusha a number of times, a lot of times I like to go to a chuppah and see. The minig is, as we know, we take afer, we take some ash, and we put it on the head of the chatan. During the chuppah itself, we go ahead and we break a glass, secher l'chorban. You know what that means? That means in a time of simcha, we have to still remember the Chorban Beis HaMikdash. And we all know, and let's be honest with ourselves, it's a formality. We're doing what we need to do, break the glass, mazel tov, we're so excited. Quick, put the afer on, let's go. Okay, run to the chuppah, we have to go. I understand, everyone's busy, everyone's hectic, I'm there, I totally get it. But at the same time, most of the things that we do is there without any type of connection, without any real feeling of what we're missing. The fact that Mashiach is on here, which again, is something I want to describe. I want to read to you the words of the Rav Yaakov Emden, the Yavatz in a Siddur, and I would not normally read this, but I'm reading it now because I think it's very prevalent for our time, and I think with this we'll get our point. Listen to the words of the Yavatz in a Siddur. He says that when people are asking him all the time about making a Zecher L'Chorban or all their Tisha B'Av questions and things like that, he says, Ech Sheshoyli Monetary. He says, "The oiker atam shel kol redifos." He says, "I promise you." He says this with a tremendous tkifut. He says, "I'm telling you, this is the emet." He says, "The reason for all the inquisitions, the reasons for all the pogroms, the reasons for all the dispersions, the reasons for all the holocausts, the reasons for all the terrorism that we're surrounded by, the reason for all the redifot, all the chasings of the goyim upon us that are always chasing us and don't stop." He says, because of one thing. Says Rabbi Yaakov Emden, almost 300 years ago, if not 300 years ago, Mipnei sheshachachu binyan Yerushalayim, because they have forgotten about Yerushalayim. Kama, he says, the amount of forgetfulness that we have about remembering the building of Yerushalayim, of getting it back. He says it's considered kemet belev nishkach. It's considered like a dead person in a forgotten heart. And he says these words: Kol ohev emet. Anyone who knows the truth, yodel dvareinu. He'll agree to what I'm saying. Ukasher yachiach nisayin. I'm telling you from experience. Biyuchud b'yom Tisha B'Av amar. Especially in Yom Tisha B'Av. Mi v'mi amitavel v'ne'enach al churban bayit. Be'emet. How many people are thinking about the meal at the end of the day? How many people are looking at their watch when the kinot are over? Or how many people are really sitting on the Churban Beis Hamikdash? Al shomim otartzeinu. The fact that our eretz is desolate. And I'll explain this. Kama demot nishpachu telzeh. How many tears have we spilled because of this mistake? Ein zocher, ein poikid mimeno. People are not remembering. People are forgetting about Eretz Yisrael. Or the fact that Mashiach is not here. The fact that a Kodesh Baruch Hu can't reveal himself. He's telling us an incredible thing. And like I said, I've never read this Yavitz before, and I'm going to tell you why. Because you can read this all the time and say, "Oh, Tisha B'Av has come again, and we're not remembering it," and try to bring Yisraelus, and come on, everybody come back. And we're like a dead beat. And I totally understand. I'm not far from that either. I'm also close to there. I totally understand what the problem is. And it's just, you say, now what? Thank you, Rabbi. We appreciate the drasha. Can we move on? Click, let's go to the next place. But after a year of Tov, Shin, Pei, Dalid, I think everybody should be feeling this Yavitz. I think everybody should be understanding what we are talking about. We are living in a year that was one of the most disastrous years for Jews in general, and specifically in Eretz Yisrael. I don't have to report to you all the things that occurred during this time period, but here we are living in a place from October 7th where over 1,200 people were killed. And since then, in this war, over 800 of the cream of the crop, the best of the boys, they've been they're the people who are so devoted, to their country, to their learning, etc. People who are on a very high level, they've been wiped out. They've been obliterated. Of course, I'll die, I'll kill Hashem, and they're going straight to Shemayim. It's not a question. Over 2,000 people. Now, I'm not going into it. Take a tour you want to take a trip to Eretz Yisrael and come and look at the hospitals. You'll see that the people who are alive are not farther off. People with missing limbs, I don't want to speak out the bad things, but people who have trauma, just the people who are considered pigur kal, the people who got hurt light, have permanent trauma from the rest of their lives. How are their families going to be raised? The people who have affected by family after family. One person is a family, as we all know that. We're not talking about an individual. And of course, like we said before, every individual is an olam maleh. We're talking about a full world. So the amount of damage. I don't know, for people in America, I understand, you read about it and you can't relate to it. You drive here, you're very scared if you take a wrong turn into one of those red signs and you turn into the wrong place, you mamish could be thrown out of a window. That means this land is ours? Come on, let's be serious. Over here, people drive by, you go in your own country, the Arabs can drive left and right without any type of inhibitions. And over here, when you're passing by in a dark alley, an Arab, or a couple of them, who are going around and giggling, you suddenly have fear for your life. You don't know what's going to happen next, and you try to kind of quickly make a move to be able to go. It's hard to say we're living in our country, or at least living in our country comfortably. We are in galut. We need pidyon shvuyim. We need someone to redeem us. We need a Kodesh Baruch Hu. We need a Mashiach here to come and help us out with our situation. And if that's not enough, you would at least think, we came to Eretz Yisrael because we are all brothers. We came here. Achdut is from Lashon Ach, that we all feel a brother and one to the other. But unfortunately, like I said, I don't know who's involved in understanding what happens here in Eretz Yisrael. But look at the amount of disagreements, the amount of purud, the redifot, the chasing after us. that the leftists are trying to be able to vanquish any type of Torah remnant. We live in a Jewish country and we're not even allowed to learn here peacefully. They're coming and trying to they're taking away as much money. They stopped giving money to all the kindergartens and all the schools to make sure that now you're going to understand. After women who want to work in the afternoon, they send to what we call a ma'on, a place to watch the young children. No more money to there either. All this, forget the money. It's a gisha, it's a direction, it's a way of thinking. It's a direction that we are not living together as one. Where is the connection that we're yearning for? What happened to the fact that Yehudim are supposed to be one achdus in Eretz Yisrael? We need someone to put that together. We need someone to be poidish shvuyim. We need a redemption of our captives. This is no worse than number one on the list, being poidish shvuyim. All of Klal Yisrael are in trouble. And I don't know, I don't mean to be sarcastic, but those people are living over on the other side of the ocean. Baruch Hashem, nice and comfortable, but you don't realize the pain that it is. And therefore, it's something be'emet to have a little bit more kavanah for it in davening. It's to be yearning. And like I said, we had, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us a derech to connect to this feeling. Here in Tafshin Pei Daled, there's no one else who can think otherwise. So you say, well, in Eretz Yisrael I feel bad, I'll watch the news and I feel bad for your situation. Guess what? HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, no, I want you also to feel it. The anti-Semitism is swimming over there in that country. Here I am, I work in a shul which gets Oilim Chadashim, and they're coming one after the other because they don't want to live there. And who knows, you're on the brink of a heres, a destruction. The word heres stands for destruction. Hopefully she's not going to be voted in. But Okopanim, Keshma Kenhi, that's what I'm saying. There's a destruction that's coming to America, and there's only one reason, not because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is negative, because he's mean. He's doing it in order to remind us we need to be yearning for Etzemach ben David Avdecha. We're looking for him to come. We're looking at Etzemach from Lashon Tzmicha. It's a slow growth. It comes slowly but surely, but that's what we're yearning for. I want to quote to you the words of the Chofetz Chaim that he says in Parashat V'Etchanan. They write over there that it was almost a metaphor. It was always said on the words of the Chofetz Chaim. He always said people say it as a cliche. Ki mechakim anachnu lam v'echakeh lo b'chol yom sheyavo. He says they say it, but they don't mean it, and he used to get hurt by it. Chofetz Chaim bothered. You know what, the Chofetz Chaim, when he heard a little bit of whistle, some leaves rustling outside of his window, he would run to the window and say, maybe it's Mashiach, maybe it's Mashiach. He was living the phenomenon of the Geula. Now, it's not just saying we want Mashiach now. I'm not here trying to be a Lubavitcher. That's not my incentive here. The idea is to realize the Shekhinah is in a situation that it's not a Shem Echad. Look at the situation that we're in. Look how many people are off the derech. Look how many people are against religion. Look how many people are not religious. Look how much Yidbalalut, look how much intermarriage is going on over there in the States or in other places in Europe, obviously. We're losing figures in incredible quantity, and it should be painful. We should be feeling it. It should be going through our bones. Something's wrong. We're handicapped. Something's in the wrong place. We're not in the right place. It should be something that we should be feeling, and that's really what the Yesod of Tisha B'Av is all about. And he brings a mashal to this. The Chofetz Chaim B'Chvoidu B'Atzmo, he brings a mashal to this idea. He says when the Beit HaLevi, the great Beit HaLevi, who was the beginning of the brisk, he was the father of Rav Chaim Soloveitchik, who was the father of the Brisker Rav. When the Beit HaLevi was ready to just sit and learn, and he wasn't interested in taking a position, and he was sitting in Warsaw, they summoned him to, they summoned him to come to Brisk. They said, we want him to be the Rav in Brisk, and they brought a few shluchim to be able to bring him to Brisk, to be able to house him over there, and that he should become the Rav. We need him very badly. And the Beis HaLevi said, it's not for me, I can't, I'm getting older already, I need to learn, I need to prepare for my Olam Haba, I've got a ways to go. They came back empty-handed, the messengers, and the second set of messengers were sent with a specific message. They told the Beit HaLevi, can you please come? And they told him, there are 30,000 Yidden begging and thirsty for you to come. They need you. We are like a sheep without a shepherd. We need you desperately. Please, can you come? We can't live without you. 30,000 people that are waiting, Bekiliyot Tanayim, waiting for you to come. So the Beit HaLevi went to his house. He said to the Rebbitzin, to the Rabbanit, he said, let's go. Let's get my coat, get out the frock. Let's pack our bags. It looks like we're going to Brisk. We have to go to Brisk. I can't make 30,000 people wait. That's not Peseder. Said the Chofetz Chaim, if we're talking about 30,000 people only, that made the Beit HaLevi get out of his house and made to do what he needs. You want Mashiach? You need to be Klal Yisrael together, all the people that are connected to say, where is he? We're waiting for you. We're looking for you. We're missing the Shechina Kedosha. We're missing the connection, the kesher to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Again, I don't want empty words of beckoning for Mashiach. I can't stand those things. It's talking about the connection, the relationship that we have with the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Reading Shir Hashirim and understanding what the Psukim are talking about. Understanding that beautiful, intimate relationship that we had with the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We had once upon a time through the Korbanot and through everything that we had in the Beis HaMikdash. We just Pashat don't have it. And you know why we don't feel it? Just like a person who is crippled, who is in a hospital full of cripples, doesn't think there's anything wrong with him, because we're just surrounded by cripples. We're surrounded by a situation that's so bad. So you know what Hashem is doing is such a favor. He's making the world turn topsy-turvy, upside down, not understood. The whole place is, if I could say, a mess, without trying to be negative, in order to make us realize, yes, there is something wrong. We need a gullus. We need this gullus to be finished. We need to terminate the situation that is at hand. And this is everything, and with this I conclude, to do with Tisha B'Av. Everything from here till tomorrow to do with Tisha B'Av. Because in Parshas Dvarim, in the Parsha that's right in front of us, which is always read before Tisha B'Av, it discusses the Parsha of the Meraglim. V'tisa kol eina v'yitnu et kolam. Everybody let out a beckoning and a call by the Meraglim, by those evil spies. V'yivku ha'am b'laylahu, and they all cried. And we all know the expression of Chazal. You cried that night, b'chia shel chinam. You cried for naught. I will make sure that you cry for naught also, for the generations that we will have these 2,000 years of Galut. The Churban Beit HaMikdash and the Galut all boils down to what happened there in that night that happened by the spies. That's the Gemara in the end of Ta'anit. Those last two daf you're allowed to learn on Tisha B'Av. It has to do with Tisha B'Av over there. And that's what it says here. No punishment, no yisurim, no pain. You're just going to cry. What does it mean? So I want to quote to you from the Sefer Hareinu B'Minyanon that says a beautiful pshat, and with this we conclude. What does it mean that a bechia shel chinam? What does it mean they had a fruitless cry? They cried for free. You know what it means? They were crying for things just to be a little bit easier. Going into Eretz Yisrael, it's a rocky country. It's very difficult to live there. Not just is it rocky, but you know what else? The sky is the limit. You have to go ahead and daven to Hashem all the time, hope for the rain to come. 1 year it comes, 1 year it doesn't. It's very inconsistent. It's very unbecoming. We don't know what's going to be next. We don't know what's going to be. And every day we're dependent to a day-to-day understanding of what's going to be. Enough. You know what happened? In Mitzrayim it was consistent. Okay, it was a little bit of work, but it was consistent. We didn't have to look to Shamayim. It was Ne'asa China Mina Mitzvot. They didn't have to deal with it, having to deal on a constant basis with this relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. The ched that happened during the time of the Meraglim was this lack of interest, of a kisufim, of a yearning, of a lust, of a desire to have a connection with your Creator, to have a connection with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, to have this beautiful, intimate relation. You know why? Because yes, it requires something of me. It does require something of me. It could be taxing. It's correct. But in the end of the day, it might be difficult, but it's something so pleasurable, so luscious, so desirable. And they missed out on it. They just didn't realize what they were missing out on. Atem bechitem bechia shel chinam. You're going to have a bechia shel dairat. We're in a gullet so long that we've already forgotten how to cry. We've already forgotten how to make that relationship. We don't even realize that we're missing a relationship. We don't even realize what's there. So we don't even look for it. We're not even looking to appeal to that geula, to appeal to Kadosh Baruch Hu to come back, to help us out. And that's such a painful experience. Where's the kisufim? Ritzoneinu lirotel malkeinu. That's what we said by Har Sinai, Ritzoneinu, right? To see our Melech. We wanted, they had a yearning, a desire. They wanted to cross over the lines of Har Sinai to be able to get a little bit closer. We don't even understand the psukim. We don't even understand what it means to have such a kesher. We don't realize what it is. And that's really what we're yearning for at Tisha B'Av. That's really the fault, the problem that we have to get to. So yes, we'll sit on the floor and we'll try our best to do it, but Bezrat Hashem, that Pachia will be able to come, and I'll end with a 1 minute story which brings us out so well. You know, in 67 when they conquered over the borders and they were able to get the kotel, we got the kotel into our hands. So people, especially many of the tzaddikim, came there and they cried. And then you know what? when one of the soldiers came there, one of the first soldiers who was able to stand on the platform and realize that we have the Har HaBayit in our hands, he started crying. A non-religious soldier. So the non-religious soldier who was sitting next to him looked over to him and he said to him, "What are you crying about?" They saw a wall with grass growing out of it. "What do you mean?" There was a lot of grass at that time. "What does that mean? What are you crying about?" He said, "You know why I'm crying? Because I'm crying because I don't know about crying. I'm crying because I don't know why I'm not crying." He said, "I'm crying. I know there's something special here. There's something there, and I don't know why I'm not crying about it. I don't realize, because I wasn't raised with that idea of understanding what the Kotel was all about, what the Churban was all about. And therefore, at least us, who were raised to a certain extent with it, we should go ahead and utilize this Tisha B'Av to be able to build that kesher, build that relationship, to understand what we're missing, and to be mekayim the mitzvah de'araita of Pidyon Shvuyim."